All right. Friends Unfiltered episode 3. Today we talk about Marvel and the multiverse in Marvel.
What's up? What's up, man? That's how you start it. That's how you gotta start it like this. Like, man, welcome to the Friends Unfiltered podcast with my co-host John right here and
Oh, there
Samir.
you go. There you go.
And today we're gonna be talking about Marvel and like the questions that we have today and what our boy John over here, if you know him, he's a Marvel guy. He knows everything. So get ready for this one.
Not everything, but I know a lot. I like to. I know a lot.
Do
A
you?
good handful. Yep.
All right.
Yes.
All right, John. So what kind of questions you got today for Marvel?
I only got one question
One question.
out of all
What?
those. Out of the, I actually had the questions up for like a cool minute on the podcast, like Instagram and stuff. So I only got one question.
Damn.
And the question was if we think that Marvel is still good.
I mean, you see how many people are excited and like making all these theories about like Spider-Man, all these Marvel movies.
Yes, sir. Exactly.
I mean, like, come on, man.
I would say definitely yes. And if you don't see how or why right now, hopefully everything that we're going to start covering and going over and like connecting for you, that will like be the deal breaker for some people. Because some people
Deal
I feel like are
breaker.
just like lost or like they haven't seen like all the projects, so they don't know like the full picture.
You haven't seen all of them. Like, which ones?
Like some of them, a lot of people I know that I talk to, they're just like, oh yeah, I'm just not watching the shows, and
How come you like? Like, how come they're not watching the show?
because they think they're not important.
It's not important.
Mm-mm. But I'm here to tell you, I mean, some of them are kind of like just little like origin stories and like nothing
Uh-huh.
too major out of them. But there are some that are like, whoa, they got a lot of stuff going on.
Like, whoa,
It's,
like it's a good show to watch or what?
oh yeah, definitely. There's a few. I'll kind of like be honest a little bit of like how much I would recommend like seeing this and like how important it is or how good it is and stuff.
Ooh.
So yeah, depending on what project or what TV show and stuff we're talking about.
All right. All right.
Yeah. Do you have any questions?
Nah, I'm just excited to hear your questions because you've been hyping it up since the first episode.
What?
You guys
I've
been
just
watching
been
this dude's been hyping. It's like, yeah, I'm waiting to the Marvel episode, man.
Mhm.
The Marvel episode. Like, I'm gonna
Marvel
go crazy,
episode.
and I want to see you go crazy.
I'm,
What are the
I-
questions?
I'm gonna try to do as best as I can.
The best.
Yeah, I was gonna basically kind of like do like a covering like everything that's kind of going on and everything. I looked up the timeline
So
order.
like a recap, kind of.
Yeah, like a recap, and then for obviously for some people that haven't seen some of these projects and everything, it's gonna be spoilers, major spoilers.
Ahead.
So if you're okay with it, or that's basically why you're watching this, because you're like, hey, I'm not gonna watch the shows, so I might as well just listen to the podcast. John's got me. Then I'm here for you.
I'm just here for you.
Exactly. So I looked up the timeline order and I put everything kind of like based off of timeline order, except for like the Spider-Man stuff. I kind of like started like making my best guess as to where they kind of fit in that timeline order and everything.
The Spider-Man ones, like which one?
Like Far From Home, and then the Across the Spider-Verse and Into the Spider-Verse one. So yeah, I'm also gonna be covering that. So
All right.
kind of faintly, but it's gonna be yep. Maybe we'll see how it goes.
All right.
We'll see how it goes.
Remember that, y'all.
I know. I'm probably gonna. It's probably gonna be like a really big portion of the whole episode and everything. That'll be funny if we get to it. It depends. So yeah. So the first technically is Loki, because that's like directly. That's directly off of Endgame.
So is that why you brought the Loki bobbleheads right here?
Yeah, Loki.
Funko Pops.
Loki all day, Loki. You know. Yeah. But yeah, basically, and yeah, yeah, that's basically why I brought them. And then a little bit of Fantastic Four, because there's a little bit of talk that I'm gonna have of Fantastic Four, and then of course Spider-Man and Spider-Verse stuff and everything. They are Marvel. They're just not part of this universe completely yet. They're kind of there. Then there's that little cameo that we're gonna cover. You know what cameo I'm talking about. Don't be like, what do you mean? gotta let me get into it and everything. So obviously this Loki basically kicks off, for those of you that don't know, basically kicks off at Endgame where he has the Tesseract and then, which is the blue cube, which if you also don't know,
Okay.
and he disappears into space when the Avengers were trying to get all the Infinity Stones throughout time, and then eventually beat Thanos and everything. So this story kind of picks up like, where did he go? Yeah.
Gotcha.
So I guess he traveled through like time and space a little bit with that stone and everything, and then a group called the TVA stops him or captures
TVA.
him. Yep, TVA, like T as in tomato, V as in Victor, and then A as in apple. Yeah, which stands for the Time Variance Authority. That's where this Funko Pop is from and everything.
Gotcha.
And it's kind of like, I want to say it's like a police force basically, of like
Police force.
yeah, it's like a police force of that certain events are supposed to kind of like go in a specific order to maintain what they're calling the sacred timeline. So like
Sacred timeline.
yeah, so like
What's that?
everything has to like basically the overall like timeline
Uh,
of like everything that's going on. Like specific events have to happen in order and everything, or else it's gonna mess up that timeline. It's gonna like start creating like basically branches and everything, and then it's gonna mess it up, and then ultimately like it's just gonna basically be all hell breaks loose.
Damn.
Yeah, which that's kind of like their it's kind of like one of those things like basically it leads into like being the multiverse type idea, because it's like this is like the main universe and everything. Like let's say it's like a straight line basically. That's the best way to describe it, is like a straight line, and then it's like branches off of a tree basically after that. It's like it's kind of like saying, "Oh, in the sacred timeline, I'm supposed to drink this water bottle, and then there's like an alternate version of like if I didn't drink the water bottle, a series of events happens." That's just kind of like an idea.
Series of events.
Yeah, like series of events with that follow or whatever. That's just kind of like an idea and everything. That's kind of like what if is about, which that will be after Loki. But yeah, and then it's revealed that the person that created the TVA was Kang, the Conqueror, which he's like gonna be the next like big bad. He's like the next Thanos level type threat. Which
what type of villain is King? If people don't know about
he's
him.
basically a time traveler. And he conquered. Yeah, like he's a time traveler. Like I guess you could say like not only time traveler, but like through the different universes and everything. And
So
he
like time travels through different universes.
Yeah, he can. Yeah, basically. And then he grabs like the best parts of every society or whatever, or like the most powerful and everything, and he makes his like kind of like a utopia, like his perfect version of a world and everything and all that stuff. So
Kind of sounds like another guy who said that.
so yeah,
Yeah, I don't think that went too good for him.
nope. But this guy is a little bit more crazier, because it's like every version of him in every like universe, which as far as we know there's like an unlimited amount of universes. What's it called? He basically wants to conquer every universe and everything and be the one top leader. But all the versions of him, like
different versions of
they
him?
yeah, because it's like saying like different universes, like different, each universe has their own version of each like existing being and or character and everything. So that's where like the idea of a multiverse comes along, and it's like that's how you can get like different versions of the same character. So yeah, just hold on, just put a pin on that, because then that's gonna help explain some of the, or understand some of the stuff that I'm gonna get into later.
All right.
Yeah, but a pin in terms of like, just remember that that's like there's different versions of the same character. Like it's the same person or being or whatever. It's just a different like alternate, which basically in this show they describe it as a variant. So it's like so like this alligator Loki is a variant compared to like of our Loki.
So
that
that's Loki. So this one's Loki.
So that's
here.
still Loki, but it's a variant of Loki. because it's a different version of Loki. It's not like the Loki that we know, but it's a Loki in a universe, in a different like universe and everything. Yeah. So
Gotcha.
yeah. Um. So that's basically what ends up covering up in Loki, and then at the very end of Loki, the TVA keeps trying to fix like all these like events that are going on and everything that like are starting to kind of like alter the timeline and everything, and then they make it straight again. But
Are
at the
they
very
like alternating the timeline?
they have like these little like bombs, I guess, that they're like reset things, or like they're kind of like playback things, and then they'll fix whatever went wrong and everything.
So it's like a
So
bomb that like reduce everything in that
yeah,
area.
yeah, essentially, or they go in and they're like they go back into time enough to where they can fix that certain event or like whatever the case may be to ensure that everything that's supposed to, let's say like the event is like someone had to die, like a specific someone happened to die, and then the branch off version or whatever is like they didn't die or whatever, then they go in there, they'll go back in time just enough and to where it's like they're supposed to be assassinated and they don't get assassinated, then they'll manually do it themselves to make sure that the one timeline stays continuous. So
it's only one big timeline, not different alternate
it's one
timelines.
it's one big timeline and everything, and it just like basically it eventually, well, that's where I was leading to. Eventually, like it gets to a point where they're overwhelmed. Yeah, you're good. Where they're basically overwhelmed and they can't handle like to be able to go and fix everything and all that, the TVA and everything, and that's where like essentially the multiverse kind of like just blows up because it went from like being one timeline and one like universe or whatever to like multiple alternate realities and everything.
Okay.
So now you know.
So like
That's why Loki's important. I keep saying Loki's important on my
like Endgame, like you saw like different like Captain Americas and Hulks in a different timeline when they're trying to like retrieve the stones.
Yeah, basically. Yep.
Okay.
That's basically what I'm saying. Like there's other Captain Americas out there per each universe. It's just that so far up to this we had only seen this universe basically. And all that. Like that was the only thing that we thought of as like that's what's going on. But in reality there's way more universes going on and stuff.
Gotcha.
So, and that leads to the idea of what if, like,
what if?
It's basically like those little branches of like, oh, what if this character did this instead of that, or like they met like somebody that they weren't supposed to at that time or whatever. So that basically. There's nothing too crazy about what if. That's basically it's just a series of little stories of like.
So should people watch What If? Or no, not really.
It's a good add-on, and it kind of helps like explain the concept or like the idea of like what I mean about different versions or like different storylines and stuff for the character. But I don't think it's like necessary. Like especially between like Loki and What If, I would say Loki is the more important one because it kind of like really puts the foot in the
So
in the
if
door.
people are listening right now, they should watch Loki instead of What If.
Yeah, especially as the starter, like to kind of like get it, because I feel like Loki gets a good explanation as to like how everything, and it kind of ties in from Endgame, which a lot of people are like, oh, after Endgame it kind of sucked. So yeah, if they haven't seen it,
well,
and if they have seen it, then they know.
Loki starts in Endgame, like when he's captured.
Exactly.
And that's how it starts.
Yeah, exactly. So technically, like this all happened like at that moment. So it's like a little bit like right after Endgame, or right before the ending of Endgame.
Okay.
So.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Okay.
And then next, I basically had like Spider-Man: No Way Home. Roughly, might be around that time period.
So what would be the next show after Loki? Like to watch?
Yeah. What if?
What If?
So Loki and then What If, but What If is like not that like I said.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What about like what's that one show? That new one that just came out, Secret Invasions?
Oh yeah, we'll get that. We'll get to that later. Yeah, yeah.
All right.
That one's like 50-50. Like it's kind of important.
50.
It's there's a lot of important things, but there's also some things that didn't add up to it. So
Doesn't add up
yeah.
to you, John, the Marvel guy?
No, it just doesn't add up in general, and that's like way spoilers, and that's actually at the very end of the timeline order. So it'll be at the very end of the episode where we go over that. But yeah.
What else you got?
Okay, so kind of like digging into Spider-Man No Way Home and everything. Obviously, big spoiler. You got Tobey Maguire's and Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man started to come in because of the spell that Peter's trying to like get into a university and everything.
Yeah.
And they don't because they considered him dangerous and everything because of from the video that Mysterio made that supposedly showed him killing Mysterio, which he didn't really directly kill Mysterio like that. It was all a setup.
Mysterio.
Yeah. He's the villain from Far From Home.
But I heard some theories that he's technically not dead.
Yeah, he's still alive.
He's still alive?
He's still alive. He just went into hiding. He faked his death. A little son of a gun. I mean, there's not much like evidence to prove that, but just don't be surprised if they're like, "Ooh, Mysterio pops up again," and everything, because he got that. There was a time and place where he was supposed to record that video where he reveals Peter's identity as Peter Parker, Spider-Man, and stuff. So, and that was supposedly after he died.
After he died?
Yeah. So that's where it's kind of fishy. It's like, how did you get that after you died? And so it's like it's kind of like a little hole. Like it could be that he's actually dead, and he probably did that as a pre-recording, or he might have actually like somehow escaped, or maybe that person was a decoy that had died. Oh my gosh. But yeah.
All right. Okay.
So and then Spider-Man No Way Home. Oh, like I was saying. Basically, he wants to try to have like specific people forget who he is, or that Peter Parker is Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So that he can like easily get into school, and it also affects like his best friend and his girlfriend MJ at that time, and everything. So, so of course he recruits Doctor Strange, and Doctor Strange is able to try to get him to do that spell and everything. But of course they didn't know that a side effect was that everybody that knew Peter Parker as Spider-Man from like different universes, going back to like the whole like different timelines or different universes like of the same character, can come over because they're like cross into this universe or whatever because they know that Peter Parker is Spider-Man because he messed it up. Like he kept trying to like manipulate it. Yeah, he kept trying to be like, oh well, Ned, his best friend, like has to know that I'm still like Peter Parker's still Spider-Man because he like helps him out and everything. So he kept tinkering until it like basically kind of like exploded and then like got all messed up. And yeah, and so then it created like little ripples, I guess, where different universes could cross over and everything. So that's where that got kind of exciting because then that's where eventually you got like Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield Spider-Man coming over, and then also some of their versions of the villains like Doc Ock and the Green Goblin, stuff like that. For those of you that know, also Venom is in there. He just didn't make a screen. He didn't make a screen appearance mostly through that movie, but he's also in like the main Marvel universe. He's in the he's in there. Like
okay, gotcha.
Yeah, and he knows who like Tom Holland's Spider-Man is and stuff, and he wants to go after him and stuff.
Oh.
Yeah.
So that could lead to another Venom movie?
Yeah, Venom movie or like maybe the next Spider-Man movie like leading up to it. Nice. You dropped it. But yeah. So of course that includes that Tobey Maguire and like Andrew Garfield are variants of like Tom Holland's Spider-Man. Each one of them is Peter Parker and they're still Spider-Man. But they're different versions of Spider-Man. Because if you've seen the Tobey Maguire series or if you've seen the Andrew Garfield series, they have their own like alternate versions or whatever. And so that's kind of like their explanation of like as to why there's different like versions of Spider-Man and everything and how that worked out.
Aren't they like differently in power? Like Spider-Man?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, definitely because like for example, Tobey's Spider-Man like he doesn't need a web shooter versus Andrew and Tom Holland's Spider-Man. They do need a web shooter, like manually like shoot webs. Their suits are different, you know, and different variations of like their girlfriend, because like Toby's has like MJ as a girlfriend and everything, and then Andrew Garfield has Gwen Stacy, which ends up dying from falling on off the tower and everything. He tried to save her, and that didn't work. So yeah.
Damn, it's like the
That's
first thing
basically.
you said. Yeah, you got Gwen Stacy. Yeah, so she basically died.
Yeah, she basically died. Yeah, I mean, no sugarcoating. Those who know are like, yeah, I already know all this. That's good, in a way.
But who's like the best
But
one? Like, you know, there's always like different Spider-Mans in the universe. Who's like the best one?
I don't know, man.
Like out of like Andrew, Toby, and Tom.
To me, I don't know. I would probably say like.
It's not that hard.
I'd probably say more like Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man is like.
Andrew Garfield
Is like
as
the
most powerful one.
As like, well, no, not powerful
like
one.
Yeah, I was like, who's like the strongest?
Oh, the strongest.
Yeah, that's what I said.
I would say Tom Holland's Spider-Man is the strongest.
Tom Holland.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Because he. No, you know what? I take that back. Tobey Maguire's, because he stopped the train.
He stopped the train.
Yeah, the train was going like full like speed and everything, and he like slowed it down. He stopped it.
I don't know about that. Yeah, but I mean, any of them can do that.
Yeah. True. Well, I guess Tom Holland gets bonus points too, because he like when he was fighting Green Goblin in No Way Home, like he was like punching him through the floors. So I guess technically, yeah, maybe Tom Holland's is the strongest.
So you think Toby's stronger?
Maybe. I don't know. It might be a tie, I would say.
A tie? That sounds like a clear answer. Who's like the better one?
No, they're both really
like
good.
Tom
All three of them
Holland.
are really good in their own way, to be honest.
Tom Holland's the best one. Because he's the only Spider-Man that picked up Green Goblin's like alter ego switching.
Oh,
He's
well, that's his Spidey sense. Like that,
Yeah,
he has the strongest Spidey sense. That doesn't necessarily mean he's physically strongest.
Well, yeah.
If you think about it,
Spidey senses are really strong. It can make him even stronger. Because then both of them, they can like detect it when he's like switching.
Oh, that's true.
Like the Toby, like you see in the movies, he didn't even like had no clue. Like, oh, I wonder who's the Green Goblin.
He bad. He evil. Yeah, good point. Good point. So yeah, I would. In that case, Tom Holland's Spider-Man wins like 3-1, 3-2.
Yeah,
because that's a very good point. That's very true. I never thought about that. That's a good one. That's a good one. You got that was a good point you made. And yeah. And that basically brings like Toby's and Andrew's like stories like are basically canon now. Because before they were like, oh, well, what's the point? Because they like did their stories and everything, and then they went nowhere with them. And it's like now they're like, well, technically, they exist as a different timeline or like different universe or different like variant of Spider-Man, but they're there and they can help out eventually and everything. So yeah, that's a little first taste of like I'll mention it again when I get into like the Spider-Verse stuff.
The Spider-Verse stuff.
Yeah, because we got basically Marvel's like multiverse stuff going on, and then there's like some series or shows or like movies even that like are covering like characters that don't even know anything about the multiverse right now, or that it's going on, or that like it exists basically. And then there's the storyline of like the Spider-Verse and everything, like other universes, and then how they're tying into this universe and everything. And it's pretty cool. It's kind of crazy. But yeah. Next in that timeline would be WandaVision. Which basically like after Endgame, of course we all know that or technically Infinity War.
Infinity
Vision,
War.
yeah, Vision, how he dies because Thanos like pulled the stone out of his head.
Uh huh.
So he's dead, basically.
Damn.
So Wanda, I guess, like just like really mourned him and everything,
Mm-hmm.
and then um, there's this what's it called, agency or whatever
An
called
agency.
called Sword. They
Sword.
basically were trying to like rip him apart and use his like technology and
Mm-hmm.
everything to like create their own weapons and everything to try to fight against the Avengers and all
Mm.
that stuff.
Like
Using
any enemy robot.
yeah, basically like make their own version of Vision, I guess you can say.
Mm-hmm.
Um so to in order to like she basically stops this, like she goes in, breaks in, gets his dead body and then goes to like a random spot
Mm-hmm.
like and like creates her own uh like little town and everything, like of her perfect ideal world and everything.
So she's
And
using
then
their power to make like a whole town.
yeah, she's like altering reality because that's kind of like
Mm.
her power type of thing or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's like making up this whole like made up world and everything, and then
Mm.
she has like kids with him and everything
Oh
and stuff.
damn.
Yeah, and then even her brother is Pietro Maximoff,
Mm.
which in this universe's version or whatever, he died back in Age of Ultron because
Mm.
he's the one that like runs really fast.
Yeah.
And then in the X-Men movies, because I guess like those are like not a part of this universe.
Mm.
He's played by what's his name, Evan Peters, and that
Mm.
version of him comes into to that show
Uh.
as Pietro, as her brother, basically. So like as that same character and everything. So that's kind of like, well, what the heck? This guy's from a whole other universe, and
Mm.
he crossed over. But later on, it turns out like he's just like a nobody supposedly in this universe. But there's still that
Mm.
idea of like maybe there is that alternate version of him that's out there that basically is with the X-Men right now and everything.
The X-Men.
And
Oh.
yeah, which the
Aren't they
X-Men
like
are.
a whole different franchise though?
Yeah, definitely.
So how are they
So
like?
right now there's not much of like hinting of how
Mm.
those two like franchises or universes are going to connect, but they're starting to like make like either little mentions or there's like little tiny strands like of like plot details that are kind of like suggesting
Mm.
that um that's going to happen. Plus this is being recorded before we get Deadpool 3. There might be something there.
Mm-hmm.
And then before the Marvels, I
Mm.
feel like maybe there might be something in there too.
Maybe.
And like any other future projects like Fantastic Four and like the actual X-Men movie going in or whatever.
Mm.
So we'll see where that takes us. And of course, when those projects come out, we'll be talking about them.
Nice.
And we're going to be like digressing into it and stuff. So
Alright.
that's basically like what I have for WandaVision. Other than that, it was kind of like her becoming the Scarlet Witch, like
Mhm.
learning her like full potential to her power, basically, and that she can manipulate reality. She could take over people's minds, basically, and make them do what she wants and everything. And then, yeah, she eventually like. That's kind of like where we leave off. Like she kind of like ended up mourning and like actually letting go of like supposedly her relationship with like Vision and stuff and her kids.
Damn.
Yeah, for that moment. It was pretty crazy.
So how does like WandaVision tie into the main like canon like Marvel universe thing that's happening right now?
That basically when I get to Doctor Strange 2, which is in a couple of projects or whatever down, basically she has to do a little bit with Multiverse of Madness, like where like Doctor Strange crosses into the multiverse, and there's like a whole other like little plot story which I'll get to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Another
that's all Doctor Strange stuff that I'm gonna cover when we get there, or to that part and everything. So yeah, and then next in the timeline order is the Falcon and Winter Soldier. That's also a series.
Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yeah. This one is kind of interesting because remember how I said like there's the two like versions or whatever of like the storyline that's being told, like everything going on with the multiverse, and then everything that's kind of like not necessarily multiverse. I guess you could kind of say like it's also more like street level Avengers, like
Street level.
yeah, like let's say in New York specifically,
Mm.
they just deal with like little like terrorist groups or like bad
Mm.
people or whatever that like are being formed
Gotcha.
and everything that are trying to like be on the rise to become like have control or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And some of the smaller like or maybe even newer like Avengers type characters or whatever are like taking care of that, trying to like protect the city and everything. um
Mm.
that kind of like sets that up, and then it eventually is gonna like go into um the Thunderbolts.
Thunderbolts?
Yeah, the Thunderbolts are is basically like a team of like um kind of like saying anti-heroes almost. Like
Anti-heroes.
they're kind of evil, but they kind of like do a good deed.
Have they
So,
been shown in the Marvel movies or?
um well, for sure in the movies, like the ones that are going to be in the team and everything is are going to be like Yelena, which is Black Widow's sister.
Mm.
She's going to be one of them. Um I believe they said the Winter Soldier is one of them. Um who else? Um, Taskmaster. That's also from Black Widow.
Taskmaster. Okay.
Yeah, that's also from the Black Widow movie. And then there's a few others,
And
but
then they're all going to be in the anti-hero.
yeah, the Thunderbolts. They call them like the Thunderbolts and everything, which they're
Mm.
kind of like a secret group, almost like saying an anti-Avengers type thing. But they don't necessarily go completely against the Avengers.
Hmm.
It's really weird.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
they're like the Avengers, but a little bit more like um uncontrolled or like
Mm.
unleashed, like like they don't fall under a set of rules and everything. So that's that on that.
Mm.
Yeah, and then you got Shang-Chi or Shang-Chi, depending on how you want to
Oh.
pronounce it. Um, this is interesting because this one adds to the idea that there's like like a hidden world within our world, like a mystical world and everything.
Uh.
And then also, especially what's interesting is the rings themselves, like which they go up like their forearms, the
Mm.
forearms or whatever. It's 10 rings, of course. Like the movie title is um, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings.
Mm.
Um, what's it called? They eventually like once he like basically he ends up battling his dad for them essentially because his
Ah.
dad's
Okay.
like using them to kind of like have immortality and everything, and then also just trying to like get control or power and everything and all that. So
Okay.
he fights his
Okay.
dad to stop him from doing that, because it's not right or whatever.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And then eventually they're investigating those rings, and
Mm.
they're like they can't pinpoint an exact origin. Like they're so old
Mm.
basically that they can't like really date it or
Think
anything.
Doctor Strange knows what they are?
Maybe, but
Maybe.
then yeah, but then again, like in that like examination and everything, it's a post
Mm.
credit scene for that movie. But Wong is there, and supposedly Wong right now is the master of the mystic arts. Like he's like the um, sorcerer supreme is what they call him.
Ah, Sorcerer Supreme.
Yeah,
Got it.
he's right now the sorcerer supreme, and he's supposed to know
Mm.
everything and all that stuff. So
Mm.
he was kind of like the one that was like, well, I don't know how like old or how long ago this is or whatever. So it's
Mm.
kind of for now kind of like unknown origin. And then
Mm. Okay.
Wong shows up in the background of one of these scenes
Mm.
where he teleports the abomination back from like
Abomination. Is
the
that from
first
the
Hulk.
Hulk?
Yeah, exactly, from the first Hulk. There's
Oh.
like these like underground or like secret what's it called? Like fights and everything, kind of like wrestling
Mm-hmm.
matches, black market type shit or whatever. That
Damn.
do that, yeah. So that was like a neat little like Easter egg
Okay.
and everything. Um, from Shang Chi.
Mm.
So that's gonna be interesting to watch and how that's gonna eventually go on. And I
Mm.
think the second one is gonna be in between like the Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars. So and
Oh,
they say
Secret Wars.
he's gonna play a pretty big role into it, depending on what basically is gonna happen. So that's gonna be interesting to watch what happens with Shang-Chi, and we'll see if he shows up in
Shang-Chi.
any of these future projects. But so far, I haven't seen really anything. So
Mm. Well, they're probably still making the movies for him right now. I mean, with all the
yeah,
stuff going on.
oh yeah, definitely.
So like it's probably gonna come up soon. Just gotta
Hmm.
be patient.
Yep, exactly.
Mhm.
And then ooh, we're getting close to the Doctor Strange 2 stuff.
Oh,
Ooh.
Doctor
But right now
Strange.
we have the Eternals,
The
which
Eternals.
yeah, the Eternals is like a whole other team basically. And they're they're like celestials, I think they call them, where they like live like
Celestials.
yeah, they live like really long time and everything.
Hmm.
Yeah. And then like
Hmm.
oh no, the celestials are like those like really big beings and everything. Like they're like bigger than planets basically and all that
Okay,
stuff.
gotcha.
Yeah, and they're like
Hmm.
they're basically like gods of like whatever. And then
Gods.
the
Oh.
Eternals, that's what they are. They live basically supposedly they ensure that the celestials survive and like they live out their lives and everything.
Hmm.
And yeah, it turns out that there's um a celestial inside of Earth, like it's being like it's gonna be born or whatever.
Hmm.
But in order to do that, the Earth's population has to get like up to a certain amount and everything,
Hmm.
and then the celestial within basically would absorb them all, and then he'll be like risen. But of course, then Earth would have been destroyed, and
Okay.
the Eternals and everything. That team like they ended up like liking or like falling in love with the Earth so much
Oh.
that they didn't want that to happen, so they end up protecting against it.
Oh. Okay.
So yeah, and then now you
Hmm.
have like part of a celestial body basically on the surface of the Earth that no one at that moment like mentions until like later on in one of the future projects.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's kind of like it's kind of like more cosmic type of stuff and everything.
And how does that tie with the Marvel strand that's currently going?
To be honest, there's not really a strand right now that connects to
What?
it. Yeah, it was just kind of like its own story, and there's nothing that's currently
Hmm.
correct like connecting to the strand.
You
It's just there.
sure?
Yeah,
Alright.
I'm pretty sure. It's just there, and it's kind of like in the background and everything. No, it hasn't been like fully brought in or anything
Hmm.
yet. So we'll see like future projects. Like I said, and probably they'll start mentioning it or whatever, or like even if
Hmm.
it's like a little Easter egg or something, or they'll be like, "What the heck is that?" And they'll investigate it,
Hmm.
stuff, and
Gotcha.
they'll probably go more into detail then and there with that. So, yep.
Okay. More details. So, should
Any more
people
questions right now?
people watch the movie or no? Not really.
Eternals?
Eternals.
Oh no,
Yeah.
that one wasn't really well received, to be honest.
Oh. How come?
A lot of people that I like my friends and stuff that I talked to them and everything, they
Hmm.
just said that it was like pretty like boring or like long or like they didn't really understand. It was like a very slow burn, which if you're not familiar with that term, it's basically like a slow burn movie or a TV show or whatever. It's like something that kind of like just takes forever to kind of like
Hmm.
get going or like get to the point basically. That's what they felt
Ah.
like
Okay.
that movie was. I kind of understand it though. Like,
Hmm.
I feel like there wasn't too much of like action. It was like a lot more talking and everything.
Hmm.
But I think it was because everything they had to explain, like it was a whole new concept, a whole like bunch of new characters and like how they work
Yeah.
and like what they are and like everything. That I think that's why it seemed so boring. So, to some people,
There's
it's
no
because
like
it's like the explanation.
rumors like saying, "Oh, like, yeah, have you seen this detail about Eternals? Like, it could lead up to something big." Like, I heard there's like rumors saying like, "Oh, Tony Stark might come back." How do you think that's like?
Oh no,
How do you think they would do that?
no!
If they did, like, how do you think they would to bring him back?
If they were to bring Tony Stark back,
Yeah.
they would just simply like they would just travel to an alternate timeline, get a different Tony Stark, and
But
then
which timeline though?
beats me to be
Beats
honest.
you. You're the Marvel
Yeah,
guy. You should
exactly.
know which
I wouldn't
timeline
say I wouldn't.
exactly.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't say there's a specific timeline. They'll probably like get something like close enough or whatever. Or who knows if those other versions of Iron Man are dead or Tony Stark are dead and everything.
Mm.
So, but
Going back
through.
to like your Loki question though,
Hmm.
like, can Loki and like what if like impact the current Marvel status as of right now? Like currently, like what's happening?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, like how?
Like, dang, that good question. Good question.
I know.
Just simply by like basically altering. This is a good question to like also implement the Spider Verse stuff
Mm.
because um with the Spider Verse they explain something that are like basically canon events,
Uh.
and what those are is like essentially like the same part of like the same story for a character or whatever has to happen each time, or like it's basically like it has to happen for the universe not to be like essentially destroyed within itself and everything.
Mm.
um so I feel like maybe Loki like tapping in or whatever, it's like he disrupted a canon event and everything, and that can
Mm.
eventually lead to an incursion,
Mm-hmm.
which they cover in Doctor Strange 2 that I'm like leading up to now. In
Oh.
Doctor Strange 2, like basically like an incursion is basically like when two universes or like timelines like cross over,
Uh.
and then eventually like one of them like it's so disruptive and everything that one of them tries to like overcome the other, basically.
Mm.
And that's kind of like the concept that's going to be behind Secret Wars. It's going to kind of be like all these universes like coming together trying to settle like the ultimate universe. So yeah, that's going to be basically like the end game of the multiverse saga.
All right. All right.
Yeah,
Mm.
so definitely could happen.
Mm. Gotcha. Gotcha.
Yep.
What else you got? What's
So
in that big brain of yours?
so going deeper into Doctor Strange
Big
2,
brain. Huh?
I said going deeper into Doctor Strange 2, it's like um you know, um there's this new character that gets introduced. It's America Chavez, and
Who's that?
she at the beginning of the movie doesn't know about like how to control her power,
Mm-hmm.
but her power is basically she can create portals essentially
Mm.
in between the realities
Mm.
or into like across the universes and everything. So the whole
Oh.
movie, like kind of like a secondary plot line, is her learning how to master that like
Mm.
power and how she can like consciously teleport through like different universes and everything. Um,
So she can teleport through like any universe that she wants to.
yeah, exactly. By the end of the movie, she's able to kind of like
Mm.
pinpoint and everything, like a specific universe that she can go to. So, and then that movie also like labeled this main Marvel universe as like supposedly it's Earth 616, which
Uh-huh.
is supposedly like the main centered like comic book accurate like universe and
Mm.
everything, because
Mm-hmm.
in the comic books that's the supposedly the main storyline is the
Mm.
Earth 616. But however,
Mm.
on for Sony's like universe and everything of Spider-Man and everything, supposedly our like that same main like timeline or whatever is
Mm.
like technically like Earth 19999.
Oh,
Like
1999.
yeah, because
Mm.
Miguel O'Hara, which is like basically like a bad guy in that like Spider Verse.
Is he a bad guy?
Eh, we'll just call him like
Hmm.
a confused man,
But he's
sad
Spider-Man.
man.
He's not supposed to be
He's not.
bad.
He's not really Spider Man. He doesn't have Spider Man's powers.
I mean, how does he not have the powers?
He just doesn't have them.
Like, what's an example of like you can tell he doesn't have the power?
He doesn't have the spider sense
Well,
because he's not able to.
in the comic book, it tells that he doesn't have it originally, because the way he got bit by a spider is completely different from what the other ones did. So, because he actually did it like natural, like bio, like naturally, like he actually like fused with the spider. I don't know,
Oh
something
yeah,
happened like that.
yeah, yeah.
Cause the other ones got bit by a radioactive spider. He got bit by like testing spiders and like his machine blew up
Oh,
or something. So he's like organic.
hmm.
That's why you see like his claws and like his fangs, cause he doesn't. He's different. Unlike the other Spider-Mans, they don't have that.
So he is like a Spider Man, but like just really, really different. basically, is what you're
Mm-hmm.
saying.
Like in the movie, like he
Mm.
didn't detect the vulture because he didn't have no spidey senses.
Yeah, that's true. But he still has like really good like strength and everything, and like you said, he has those fangs and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
which those fangs, like if he bites them, I think they can act like kind of like poisonous, can't they? I think I've seen that somewhere or
I'm
like
not sure.
yeah, I'm pretty sure I saw that or heard that somewhere. But yeah,
Right.
um, and then that's also where we get that cameo of the Fantastic Four, basically,
Mm.
because you get like basically Doctor Strange is brought to the Illuminati, which like is kind of like an that universe's like version of saying like the Avengers, basically, like they
Mm.
overlook like everything and all that. And you get like a cameo of the Fantastic Four by Reed Richards, basically, is in it,
Mm.
and then you also get an X-Men character from the other franchise, like the X-Men franchise, of like how you remember how you asked me like how's it
Mm.
gonna cross over or whatever. That slight thread of like the cameo of like the same guy that plays uh, Doctor X or Charles Xavier,
Mm.
from that X-Men timeline or whatever franchise and everything,
Mm-hmm.
showed up in this Doctor Strange movie.
Oh,
So
that could
it's
happen.
basically suggesting that that franchise or whatever could be a different universe within this multiverse. Basically, it's a
Mm.
different timeline. So it exists and it is technically canon, but it's just in terms of a different universe.
Different universe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. See, so it's kind of like coming
Mm.
together. Like everything's like all mixed up and everything, and it's
Mm.
like it's just a matter of understanding the different universes that there are and everything. At least for now, that have been explained. Um,
Mm.
so
Okay.
yeah.
All right. I guess that could happen. I
Mm-hmm.
guess I could.
Yep.
Hmm.
So, and then maybe like our the main canon universe has our own version of the Fantastic Four and of the X-Men, but they're probably just like not public in light anymore, or they're probably like just not like out there, like exposed,
Mm.
or they're probably dead already.
Probably dead.
Yeah, you never know. Time can only tell. Depends on everything that's gonna happen and go on and everything. So.
Hmm. Okay, but I heard that Secret Wars. That's people's been talking about that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like,
That's inevitably gonna happen. Like I just
how do
said
you
like
think they
earlier.
would open with that Secret Wars? Like, what do you think in the point of the Marvel as it going, like, as it's going right now? Like, where do you think it's gonna pick up? Like when it first opened, like you're watching it, it's like, oh, it's gonna pick up right here.
I would say probably. Oh, you're getting ahead on the projects that I was gonna get into and everything, but basically the ending of the
Mm-hmm.
Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania um, movie, and that has to do with everything of like the quantum realm and like how time works down
But
there
how
and
does that
everything.
influence like the Secret Wars? How the quantum realm? Like,
We'll get to it when we get to it. Just right
mm,
now, I'm like building it up. I'm kind of like giving all the basic stuff, and then that whole quantum realm and like thing and everything, it gets more complicated. Like
mm,
yeah, it's more complex. So it's kind of like a build up or like add on to all this stuff and everything. So we're getting
mm.
there. We're getting there though. But
Alright.
yeah, because the time works differently in the quantum realm. That's what I'll leave you with at least for now. But we'll
Mm.
get there for sure. Um,
Alright.
and then next we have Hawkeye, which
Hawkeye.
yeah, Hawkeye is gonna also add to those like street level Avengers stuff that I was telling you about, or
Mm.
that like isn't necessarily multiverse. So Hawkeye like just implements a character from the Marvel Netflix show,
Mm-hmm.
and they're starting to show up more and more because in I'm sorry, in No Way Home,
Mm.
we got like Daredevil and everything because he was Peter's lawyer and everything. And
Mm-hmm.
then in this one we get Kingpin, which is a villain. He's like a
Mm.
he's like a mafia like head honcho type
Mm.
of like villain and everything. And people that have seen those Marvel Netflix shows know what I mean, exactly what I mean. Or if they know the comics too, they know.
Gotcha.
But yeah, he's also kind of like low key a Spider-Man villain too.
Mm.
So there might be hopes of like Spider-Man and Daredevil teaming up. That'll be interesting to see and really cool.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yep. And then after that project, we have Moon Knight.
Moon Knight.
Yep. Moon Knight. Honestly, Moon Knight is another one that I don't see much of a like actual tie-in connection to the
Mm.
main Marvel universe right now. It was kind of like just an origin story. It was just there, like
Mm.
yeah,
Just there.
yeah, it's just there. But it is a really good show though. Like I
Mm.
definitely recommend watching that one. That
How
one's
many
pretty good.
episodes does it have?
Uh, good question. I don't know.
What?
Yeah, I
You
don't know everything, bro.
man, people go to you like, oh, how many episodes does this have? Like, what's a good
I think it's
show?
like 6 or 8 episodes,
6 or
something like
8?
that. Yeah, I don't know. It's gonna take
Mm.
some time to look it up,
And
but
does that influence like the current Marvel status or no?
not at the moment. No,
No.
it's just a story that's there. Basically, there's no like real connection or timeline or whatever. Um,
All right.
at least not yet. Like I said.
Mhm.
So, and then next we got Black Panther 2 in the timeline.
Black Panther 2.
Yep, which they honored like Chadwick Boseman, the actor that plays Black Panther,
Mhm.
or T'Challa, basically, by just killing off his character of like supposedly of a natural disease and everything that hits him and everything.
Mm.
And then we meet Namor, which is
Namor.
yeah, kind of like an Aztec god type character and everything.
Mm.
That lives in the underwater and everything, and basically
Underwater.
it's like saying like Wakanda, where it's like a hidden secret world and everything,
Mm.
which is that's interesting because that's another instance of like a secret world showing up,
Mhm.
because you had one in Shang-Chi, you have one that's basically Wakanda, and then you have, I forget the name of his place.
Hmm.
I think it was Atlantis, or
Atlantis.
no, it was a different name. I don't remember.
Mhm.
I'll have to look it up. But yeah, it's something like that. Uh, but yeah, it's basically like hidden and it's like whatever. But they have like this like huge like just area, like it's like a hidden world essentially. Um,
Gotcha.
yeah. He like they go to war basically
Mhm.
because they're just trying to like conquer them and like show them that they're like stronger and everything. And um, and they claim that the vibranium's theirs and stuff. So
Oh,
they
really?
kind of like have a little war over the vibranium and everything. Yeah. So, um, it basically, that's basically the movie. Like, they go to war and everything over it, and then, um, T'Challa's mom also dies. So she was
Oh,
the
really?
queen. Yeah, she was the queen of Wakanda, and she
How did
ends up
she
dying.
die?
Basically a water grenade, and she like choked to death. But
Hmm.
yeah, or drowned to death, I guess you could say. And then Shuri, which is T'Challa's like younger sister, takes on the mantle of like being a Black Panther, or
Oh,
like
damn.
a Black Pantheress, I guess. And then
Mm.
M'Baku, I don't know if you know, M'Baku is like that big old buff guy and everything
No.
that like helped. Um, he lives in the mountains and everything. He helped T'Challa out and everything in the first movie to like overthrow Killmonger and everything and get him his position back at. Yes, you do. You've seen Black Panther.
Nah.
Yes, you
Sounds
do.
like every movie, like, oh yeah, there's a guy who lives in the forest, so helps you can get stronger.
Basically, but instead of a forest, he's like up in snowy mountains and everything. But that's
Mm.
from like a reference from the first movie. So since I'm covering everything that's like the multiverse stuff, the first movie didn't really have anything to do with this. So
Mm.
yeah, go watch it and you'll know what I'm talking about.
Mm.
And then if you want to get like a more full like actual rundown of everything that has gone through the universe,
Mm-hmm.
then yeah, let us know in the comments or like just message us and everything
And
or
you
whatever.
basically like cover the basics of on this one right here.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then after that, we got She-Hulk.
She-Hulk.
Yeah, that show was something else. It was very comedic. It was
Mm.
very like random, out of pocket, and everything. But the what I do have highlighted from it is that Wong shows up.
Wow.
Yeah. Remember the fighting or whatever?
Mm.
Well, I guess the Abomination shows up in this show too, and then it shows that
Oh.
he was actually like the Abomination is technically under like a house arrest or
Mm.
whatever, and he broke that rule or like agreement or whatever to go into that, and then Jennifer Walters, which is basically She-Hulk,
Mm.
is his lawyer, and she's trying to like get him to be like liberated as soon as possible, basically, and not like try to deny it and everything, but it's revealed that he does it in fact go to those fights basically that we saw in Shang-Chi, that we were talking about in
Mm.
Shang-Chi. So yeah, that's that.
Alright.
And then we have Daredevil also show up,
Mm.
and he kind of helps She-Hulk fight some of the enemies towards the end of the season and everything.
Mm.
Yeah.
Wasn't he in the Spider-Man movie?
Yeah, I said that in No
Oh.
Way Home.
Alright.
He was Peter Parker's lawyer. He's a lawyer.
Okay.
He's a blind lawyer.
A
He's
blind
blind.
lawyer.
Yeah, he's blind, but his
Mm.
senses are heightened.
Mm.
This guy hasn't seen the Daredevil series. He
Nah.
needs to watch it.
Haven't seen it yet.
Terrible, terrible. And at the very, very, very end of that show, it leads off with Hulk, like the actual Hulk,
Mm.
has a son. I think his name is Scar. And it's kind of like,
Oh.
oh, it was like a post-credit scene, and it was kind of like, what the fuck? Where did this come from?
Mm.
So that's kind of like what happens there and everything.
Mm. I did
So
not
like I
know
said,
that.
not too much crazy stuff, but yeah, just an additional character basically, or a few characters. You officially get Daredevil into the main MCU arc and everything. So
Alright. Alright. Alright.
yep.
Okay. What else you got?
You don't have any more questions for me so far?
I mean, like, let's see. Like, so you already know about the Infinity Stones, right?
Oh yeah, definitely the Infinity Stones.
Like,
Everybody knows the Infinity Stones.
but where did they come originally? That's the question. Like, have you thought like of the origin?
Yeah, definitely.
And like, if people knew, like, if someone knew in the current timeline right now, like how they were made, how do you think that would influence like the whole thing that's going on in the MCU?
They would definitely like find a way to basically bring them back because
But I thought they wanted
they
to destroy him, and they did.
okay. So there's the thing though, because you also have like the whole multiversal idea and everything.
Mm.
Number one, you can go to, instead of traveling backwards in time for this universe's Infinity Stones, you could travel to other universes timelines and get their Infinity Stones and everything.
Mm.
Plus, with the multiverse, they're kind of like really emphasizing how the Infinity Stones aren't like really a big deal,
Mm-hmm.
simply because, what's it called? Simply because there's a part in the Loki series where the TVA like just has like a drawer and there's like so many like different Infinity Stones basically, and they're like they're basically nothing to them. They're like, oh yeah, sometimes we use them as paperweights, and it's like, dang. And then even Loki's like, what do you like? What? These are like the most powerful things in the universe, but they used to be. They were originally like living beings basically. So, and then they got converted into stones by like this one, the main one, which there's technically a seventh Infinity Stone, which is like the main one and everything. So if you want to know more about that too, like, yeah, that's a whole other like story arc. But I don't think they're gonna bring those back. They don't have any signs that they're gonna bring back the Infinity Stones or anything like that. So, yeah,
Dang, it got dark.
yeah, it's getting really dark.
Yeah, I'm radio's dark, then it's dark. So
It's dark.
it's like 8 something.
Which is fine because that was basically the very end of my notes. We've got a lot more projects and a lot more stuff, and the nitty gritty of how everything starts to tie in. And then I don't have on this list right now Guardians of the Galaxy 3, which that's also going to be a big deal. But to kind of like wrap it up, basically, I guess this is going to have to be there has to be a second part to this episode.
The second part.
To continue on and everything. So, there's going to be more. But next time we'll be covering Miss Marvel, Thor, Love and Thunder, which is the fourth one. Werewolf by Night. That's a nice little... yeah. Okay. The Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. And then, of course, also Guardians of the Galaxy 3. And then Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, which then I'll be able to get into that question you were asking.
Oh.
Yeah. And then Secret Invasion. And it's all going to like start making more sense. And then I'll also start talking about the Loki season 2, which we just got a trailer for that like a few days ago, but yeah. That's basically what I got for now.
Alrighty. Then we gotta decide who's gonna be the guest, our first guest.
Yep. We'll announce that probably for sure, like on our Instagram or TikTok or something.
Definitely days.
In a couple days, yep.
So the next episode we're gonna have a guest.
Yep. Hopefully. If they're able to make it and everything.
If they're able, they should be able.
Yeah, they should be able to.
If they want to come on, they gotta make time.
The hype will be there, definitely. So I'll be excited and everything.
You have like any hints or like names?
Nah, I want it to be a flat out like surprise and everything. So,
right.
But we definitely plan on having someone. So, yep.
All right then. Anything else you wanna talk on a little Marvel?
No, not really. Just because it's kind of like you said, it's getting dark.
Yeah, it
we need to invest in some lighting. Get some like lights and stuff.
Artificial light.
Yep, some artificial light.
Some ring lights.
Yep,
you need.
That's the next thing. Definitely.
Yeah.
All right, but yeah, and then just make sure everybody like, shares our stuff. Share it with your friends. Share it with your family. Listen to it.
Yeah, if you want to know everything, socials, Friends Unfiltered on everything.
Yep.
Go ahead and follow that.
Basically,
Spotify, YouTube, Instagram.
I'm actually working on a link tree, so I can like have that one link and share one link, and it'll have like all the links for like all our different things. So that'll be coming soon. I don't know exactly when, but yeah.
All right.
But yeah, that's basically all I got for now. Next time on the Marvel episode, we'll cover the rest.
Alrighty then. Guess we'll do that next time.
Yep, definitely.
All right, y'all. See you guys on the next episode with our first guest. See ya.
See you later.